Nice. Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Walter Goodman, and we are bringing back the Bard. And today we are very fortunate to have, in your study of Shakespeare's Hamlet, we are very fortunate to have the man himself, Prince of Denmark, Hamlet.
Most pleased to be here.
I'll tell you when you can speak. Brought back from the dead, made from fiction to non-fiction. Okay, lots of surprises in this course. Well, welcome. You have a last name or something?
Usually I'm simply identified with the country of Denmark. It's never been required anything beyond that. If you really feel the need, you can start throwing in the name Smith.
So, you're Prince of Denmark, you're Prince of the Dutch.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's start off reflecting on the play. Now that you're dead, reflecting back on when you were alive and mattered, do you feel you've achieved some sort of salvation after death?
If anything, I feel that those individuals who had violated both human and divine law have been brought to the judgment that they had brought upon themselves. Are there regrets? Well, there are endless numbers of things that I would have liked to have achieved in life. However, on the balance, I would say at least matters were restored back to the natural order.
What sort of things do you think you would have liked to have achieved in your lifetime that you weren't able to in the unfolding of the play?
First and foremost, bringing my father to some sort of truth. The more and more I've thought about it, he was in a place of eternal torment, and it was for a valid reason. I did not pay attention to the fact that I had been essentially taken out of my role as legitimate prince, and instead turned into an avenger. I was never comfortable with that role, and as a consequence, I struggled between my natural inclinations and the role that my father had imposed upon me for the duration of the story. And that unfolded basically every act of tragedy that we end up seeing over the course of the story.
Okay, but if you say your father, I forgot exactly how you put it, but you're saying he's in a place of eternal torment, and maybe for good reason. What reason would that be? Why do you think he's...
He simply was not a good king. His as Lord of Denmark, his first concern should be about everybody, every citizen, himself last. And that is what I would have liked to have brought to it. Instead, he turned it into, I think, those individuals who are populating the continent of America would phrase it as a macho contest with Fortinbras Senior.
Oh, I see. Well, that's interesting. Now, focusing on Claudius, do you have any understanding or sympathy for Claudius' situation and ambitions now upon reflection?
With the advantage of time and death now upon me, I can start to see that he wanted to become more than he was. Is this something I can sympathize with? Well, I can see the logic of his position. What he did, though, was violating, as we said, all human and divine law in accomplishing this, and the consequence is nothing more than it can be nothing less than a man's life.
I'm sorry, did you just say something? Oh, never mind. Next question. Did Gertrude betray the nation of Denmark more than she betrayed you, would you say?
Ultimately, I would see the two as being synonymous.
Gertie.
My mother had spoken that it hadn't been since high school that individuals had addressed her in such a fashion. So I think that now that she is dead and in a place far worse than this, as a consequence of her actions, you could show a touch more respect.
You bullied a lot in high school? But you were, eh?
Oh,
pick on you? What, did they have any funny names for you? Like Hammeroid or something like that?
like to say I started a few of them.
Shouldn't you be wearing like a funny hat or something?
Those sort of things are illegal in the afterlife.
Okay, how about we get back to our questions here, Hammy? Has your contemplation of suicide undergone any evolution from the start of the play to your death?
At the beginning, again, it was my father had been taken, and he was the center of my universe. He provided order. He provided all stability that I drew meaning from. With him gone, nothing else meant anything, and it was only over the course of examining life that I came to realize.
Hamlet, what's up, bro?
Yes. Horatio.
Who's this guy?
Wonderful to see you here in the afterlife.
Horatio.
Are you just visiting?
Horatio who?
Yeah, man. Horatio, I'm in the play, man. I just came to tell you, Ophelia's tripping. Gotta hit her up, man. She's kind of upset.
You seem to have lost all elements of logic that characterized you previously.
Gentlemen, can we get on with this interview? Horatio, you got someplace to be?
It's messed up, man. No part of the story.
Okay, back to the interview.
Catch you later, dude.
Do you have any regrets with regard to Ophelia?
That is something that is going to be an eternal loss for me.
Kind of blew it, didn't you?
And again, it was my mother who put so many blockages between me and Ophelia. I came to look upon women as a whole as sources of betrayal, and if I had been given the opportunity to think about it with any depth of rationality, I would have brought her on board to assist me, along with
killing your
Horatio
uncle?
there.
Killing your uncle? Acting crazy?
Again, this would be with doing what I would much more naturally be much more naturally inclined to do, which is to enact the law and to have Claudius proven guilty of the crimes that he had committed, rather than...
Why didn't you just go about it in that whole manner at the time, rather than the whole crazy act? Or were you more or less, you wanted to follow the wishes of your father's ghost?
That pretty much sums up the core of the conflict. Again, at the beginning of the story, I was so distraught that I was almost incapable of putting together rational thinking, and then to have my father come along and tell me that I was now to act as a force of vengeance.
Oh, finished.
You do understand I was about to take out my longsword and put a few holes in you.
No, come on, Amy. With the whole crazy act thing, was it always an act, or do you think sometimes you were a little, wonky? You're losing a little bit.
It was frankly a bit of both. I needed to engage in that kind of behavior for a number of purposes. First of all, to keep the outside world unaware as to what I was attempting to do, and second, so that I would have a way to bleed
Jim
off
moment.
the steam that was building up inside of me.
Steam?
Yes. Otherwise,
okay,
it would have been coming out of my ears.
Oh, okay. Now, just the last thing I want to address is the whole situation with Polonius. Do you have any regrets with? I mean, you were kind of a jerk to him. Like, what are your thoughts on Polonius? I know Shakespeare created him sort of in a comic way, but you kind of pushed it.
I would, well, quite honestly, I consider Ophelia's father to be one of the most single tragic figures in the entire story. Because he is a man who, over the course of the story, speaks wisdom without ever enacting it. And ultimately, his betrayal is what doomed her to the fate that she met. Could I have delivered her from this? Well, there's every chance that if I'd had my thinking straight, yes, I would have done everything to pull her back from the nightmare that she ended up descending into. But she and I were both trapped in the same hell. A hell of having our fathers, the people that we trusted and had faith in above anything else in this world, betraying us. And so I see her situation as essentially duplicating my own, and I wish I could have.
A father's betraying us? Are you suggesting that either your father or Polonius, your father betrayed you or Polonius betrayed
Ophelia?
I don't understand. Can you explain that?
Well, Polonius was of the opinion that Ophelia should not be involved with somebody like myself. He seemed to feel that I would treat her with no more dignity than he treated any woman that he had the advantage of being with.
Okay.
He saw his sins as my own. And again, I would have taken every opportunity to show that I would have treated her as the princess she should have been.
And then, what about how your father betrayed you? How would you say your father betrayed you?
Well, again, my desire, if I'd been thinking more straight towards the beginning of the story, I would have liked to have acted as a force of law to bring Claudius to the judgment that he should have been facing. However, my father appears from the depths of hell and tells me to be an avenger. And being a loyal son, I must fulfill his wishes. And I attempted to do so, while at the same time fighting with my own inclinations. And this was one of the reasons that I acted so disruptively over the course of the story, because I had no way of resolving this situation.
Okay, one question here, Hambone. I remember early in whether it's the first or the second act, you actually say that I forget the exact line, but you say that you're a little slightly suspicious of what the ghost is saying, because you think maybe the ghost is not your father, despite how much it looks and sounds like your father, but some sort of image constructed by the devil to try to convince you to sacrifice your soul, push you into murder so that your soul will go to the devil.
Right.
Did you have these doubts later on, or was that really just at that time?
These were ongoing doubts, but ultimately, it's my father who told me to do this. I would like to hope that it was, again, the voice of reason reasserting itself, logic, at moments like that, but unfortunately, those were only moments, not a policy that I enacted for myself.
So, your father... No, Kiara.
So you're going to put in a bit about how ratio is getting
It's still filming.
Oh, okay.
Your father, you do whatever your father says. What if your father told you to like jump into a pool of Jello, and juggle a peanut on the end of your nose every time you talk to a girl? Would you do that?
Because he's my father. There's the necessity to follow the family law. The eldest son must obey, any son, any child, must obey the will of their father on the belief that they are doing what they are doing in the pursuit of rationality and justice.
Right on. Now, I know I said I was going to have the last question before, but I'll have this one last I'd like to add. You've seen yourself portrayed by Laurence Olivier, Mel Gibson, Ethan Hawke, Kenneth Branagh. Who's that guy that really hammed it up? Anyways, are there any particular representations of your character and what actually transpired that you're partial to, you think was superior to the others?
In the film The Last Configuration, Jason Miller is having a group of dogs attempting to replicate the play. And I really felt in many ways that that captured the essence of what I was attempting to work towards. But Kenneth Branagh, I believe, came very close to achieving the top honors himself.
Okay, you got some kind of plug or something you want to make right now?
Well, I will mention that after his descent into the underworld, Claudius and I are going to be doing Pen's stand-up routine at Lake Tahoe, the 24th to the 26th.